Hello and welcome back to Beyond the Checkered with Charlie and Kathleen. This morning we are recapping the Sonsio Grand Prix of Indianapolis, the Indianapolis road course, the first on-track event at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway during the month of May. We had the open test on the oval earlier, but that was not May yet. So this was a very exciting, compressed 2-day schedule. It's one of the more challenging schedules on the calendar.
Why do you think it's more challenging?
Well, because you still do all of the on-track sessions. You do 2 practices, a qualifying, a warm-up, and a race in the span of 2 days. And warm-up on what was Saturday isn't until 11 a.m. or so. And then the race is later Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
So you do those 3 sessions on Friday, and what it means is you don't have that chance to go back through data and really dig into all of the small details that change the.
Did you just feel a little earthquake?
No.
Okay. I think I did. I think it's still moving. Am I just crazy?
Trick question. Trick question. Also, this weekend, Pacers went up 3-1. Their playoff game. Pacers and Racers, baby. That's the greatest thing about the Pacers being in the playoff during the month of May.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just crazy.
After that interlude for Earthquake, we might get interrupted by multiple things. Our kids aren't home. They are at school. Unlike last time when, not last time, but time before when they were on spring break and came and snuck in. So where do you want to start? Do you want to start with surprises? Do you want to start with qualifying? Do you want to start with...
I want to start with, it looked like a really great crowd. It looked like there were a ton of people out there.
Great weather.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We watched it from here, which was weird because we love being there. Yeah, I remember there was a shot on the broadcast of pit lane during practice, and I was like, oh, honey, look at this. And we were both just very sad to not be there.
Yeah, lots of FOMO, for sure.
Yeah.
And honestly, the weather was great. From what I heard, I was texting with a couple of friends, and they said it was in the 80s, toasty. Just remember that one year where the merchandise shop sold out of blankets and sweatshirts and gloves?
I had a stress fracture because I'd been training for the mini.
That's right.
And I had a boot on, and I only put one sock over my foot, and my foot was so cold. It was like 46 degrees. It was so cold.
It was very, very cold. Not that way this year, though.
No.
So great weekend, great crowd, really wonderful kickoff to the month of May in Indianapolis. Lots of momentum for some people. Arrow McLaren continuing to show strong with both
podium.
Christian Lundgaard, Pato Award doing a really good job. Some woes and struggles continuing for Andretti Global.
Yeah.
And a massive turnaround for Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan Racing. They have typically shown well at the Indianapolis road course. Something about the track type and the surface works really well with their setups. They've always been strong there. Graham has won there in the past, I believe, but has always done well there. That continued.
Yep. All 3 of their cars were in the Fast 6.
Which is incredible. Making history for that. Graham Rahal on the front row. And I honestly think all of those stories and conversations add up to, if you put all the other storylines from the weekend and the race results, add up to the fact that the biggest story of all is Alex Palou and the 10-car Chip Ganassi racing cars continued dominance this year.
He was on pole. Alex was on pole.
Yep.
Graham got him in the first corner.
Yep.
And Alex just did everything right again.
Yep.
And he was patient. He was waiting for his opportunity. He didn't run go too hard on his tires and then not have it when he needed it. I mean, it was just perfect.
And he was communicating with his team, and Barry Wanzer on the timing stand, the engineers, crew chief Ricky Davis and his crew did everything right. They're like, when you talk about momentum and everything clicking, I don't think you can talk enough about how seamless that team is working in a positive way.
Yeah.
As a team, their average result this year through 5 races is 1.2. That's like batting. That's like going through 5 at-bats in baseball and hitting 4 home runs and 1 triple.
I was going to say triple.
Yeah.
That's
like
great baseball.
1.2.
Yeah. I mean, Freddie Freeman went 4 for 4 last night. But
that's and that is so atypical.
Yeah, I mean,
especially as competitive as the IndyCar is.
Right? Well, and they showed between like Alex and AJ Foyt when AJ Foyt won like 10 races in a year, and AJ Foyt's entirely dominant season, his average finish in the first 5 races was 5.8. Like, he hasn't had a bad finish.
Right.
Like, and again, his baby's so cute. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think we can say enough about it. I feel bad for the other drivers. I just feel like now it's a championship race for second, and I know it's only the 5th race, but like, I think Alex would have to have some major bad luck to not have this championship locked in really early.
He is up by 97 points.
Yeah.
53 points is maximum in a weekend.
Yeah.
Like, it is astounding.
And it's not like the guy who's finishing second is the same guy every weekend. I know Christian Lundgaard I think he has 3 podiums on the year, which is great. Scott McLaughlin's doing really well, but like, whoever's finishing second and third is not the same guy. So it's not like they're like keeping up with him. Right. He's just running away. Alex is just running away with it.
And everyone else is fighting over the scraps.
Yeah.
Also, big news. We saw a yellow flag. There was a full course yellow, lap 70 to 71.
But it wasn't for contact.
No, it was not contact. It wasn't a mistake.
We did have a revelation during the race about why there's been so few yellows this year. The hybrid allows you to restart. So if you get spun, because there were some spins, there was some contact.
Yep.
The hybrid, you're not going to stall. I mean, you might stall, but then you can restart. So there was an incident, I think, it was near the back. Newgarden was involved.
He was around it. I think Ilott was there.
And I think maybe VK was there or something like that. And, the car spun and then just started and got going again. So what would have normally caused a yellow in previous races because the car was stalled and they couldn't get it restarted is not causing a yellow. So that's part of the reason we've had so few yellows this year, I think.
Yeah, that does
and
help.
I've not heard that said out loud.
Yeah, it definitely reduces the amount of short yellows that they have to go just restart a car.
Yeah, there's no drivers doing this.
Yeah, just I need help. Hit the button on the hybrid, fire it up, and away you go. As long as the hybrid has juice, right? If they haven't expended it and there's enough SOC or state of charge, there's enough charge in it to fire the engine.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like battery level, right? It's not a battery because it's a supercapacitor, but the details. Those are details. There's a great, actually, when they first introduced the hybrid last year, I believe it was at Mid-Ohio, James Hinchcliffe did a really good job spending some time with the engineers and translating that into what it actually means. So, yeah, we had a yellow. Because of an electrical problem. It was an incident. And it was still great racing. Like side by side, 3 wide into turn 1.
Yeah.
Usually when you go 3 wide into turn 1 at Indy, someone ends up in the wall or backwards or
on the runoff or whatever.
And we actually saw that in the first Indy Next race. So forgot to talk about Indy Next at Barber on our Barber recap. Dennis Hogger won at St. Pete, won at Barber. Looked like he was running away with the championship on the front row with his teammate, Lockie Hughes. for both races at the Indianapolis Grand Prix. Race 1, Dennis overcooked it, was on the outside, couldn't get down, and took the runoff rather than trying to go through the grass. Didn't sort of back out early enough. Went all the way to the back and drove back through, I think, to a top 10. Really great result. Lucky Hughes won the first race, so it was down to 7-point championship lead, and then Dennis Hogger comes back and wins again on race 2. So he has won 3 out of 4. But his next best is not as good as Alex Palou's second place next best. Yeah. So you do see that sometimes where that schlemazel develops into turn 1 and you exit stage left and take the runoff and you lose spots, but you live to fight another day. And with IndyCar, when you've got an 80-lap race like this, 85-lap, excuse me.
Are you back to IndyCar?
I'm still talking. I was leading from Indy next back into IndyCar when I was talking about exit stage left on the start.
Sure, you didn't shift without lip.
I mean, it's prone to happen.
Mm-hmm.
With an 85-lap race and 3 stops, you have the chance to fight back a little bit.
Yeah.
Yellows help. We had a yellow, but it was after everyone had done their last stop.
Yeah.
So it didn't really change the strategy.
Yeah.
Introduction this weekend of a new rule by IndyCar as well.
Yeah.
Every car had to run both the red sidewalled twice and the black sidewalled twice.
But they didn't have to be new, either one.
Correct. They didn't have to be new. So it opened the opportunity for drivers to be a little more aggressive in qualifying. However, since the soft tire, the alternates, those red sidewalled Firestones, were the preferred tire and were faster over both 1 lap and a whole stint length, most people saved at least 1 new set for the race.
Yeah.
And it proved to be valuable.
Yeah, I think that kind of takes us into, like, Graham. I don't want to take, and like, Graham drove a great race.
He did
qualified
awesome.
Really, really
Devlin
well.
did awesome.
Yeah.
Louis did awesome.
Yeah. But I think strategy caught him out. And meant he couldn't deliver a win to a team that could really use that boost.
But also the fact that he finished 6th, after, look, I know 3 cars in the top 6, and you want to convert at least 1 to a podium.
Yeah.
You don't want to start up front and go backwards. But the fact that they finished 6th, Louis was 11th, and Devlin had a tougher day, had a problem in pit lane. Yeah. Again, problems in pit lane popped up. We had...
Yeah. I think it cut out Lundgaard as well.
Yep. He had an issue. And Scott McLaughlin was on track to be 2nd.
Yes.
Likely behind Alex Palou.
Yeah.
Coming in for his last pit stop, looking for every last 10th, drove off and just about stacked it into the wall. I watched, he posted his onboard, go find his social, because posted his onboard, and he ran off on pit in through the grass, just about caught the wall.
Yeah. Did the broadcast miss it?
We didn't see it. I don't remember seeing it on the race broadcast.
Well, I didn't watch the whole broadcast because it was the Saturday before Mother's Day and we were busy at the store. And although my lovely husband put a TV in my office, I had to be out on the sales floor, so I didn't get to be in the office the entire time.
So I was sitting in your office watching the TV I put up. And I don't remember seeing it. Those pit stop exchanges are very frantic. There's a lot of information, a lot of changes, which is one of the reasons we're doing this podcast, kind of unpack what actually happened. You've got 2 Penske's in the top 4, Will Power 3rd, Scott McLaughlin 4th.
Will did a great job as well. Will seems to be really locked in this year. Like, he doesn't seem to get upset when he doesn't qualify well. He's just like, I'm going to make the most out of Sunday, this time Saturday, and just move forward.
And he qualified and started 7th, so he didn't have as big a hole to dig out of to get there. And Pato O'Ward coming to 2nd from 8th, really great pace from the Arrow McLaren cars, pretty consistent.
The right strategy calls.
The right strategy call as well. And man, like, Scott Dixon with the top 5 coming from 16th. Yes, it's obvious that there is some pace advantage with the Chip Ganassi racing cars. Alex Palou can't do what he's doing without having a great car underneath him. And I don't know if there is a hybrid usage piece with how they regen in the brake zone or how they deploy to help turn the car with the weight. There's the hybrid's the obvious disruption recently. And over the winter, the Chip Ganassi racing cars have obviously maximized it. You've got momentum coming off a championship. I think road and street circuits, we haven't had any ovals yet. It'll be interesting to see how that changes on the high-speed oval. And there's a whole week of practice to figure out what it looks like. But it's obvious the Chip Ganassi racing cars are great, and yet Scott Dixon still doing the right things, making the right moves, drove all the way to 5th.
Yeah. So good. But I wanted to talk more about Graham and how that strategy call like hurt him, and because he definitely had the pace to stay up front. The issue was kind of everyone else, Alex, Award, saved their either sticker scrubbed red soft tires for the last stint. And Graham didn't. He had to use his sticker primaries for that last stint. And they were just a slower option. So he was, he got beat out of pit lane. He didn't have that pace when everyone else had it. So it hurt him.
And I think it's indicated a lot on the lap chart. I talk about the lap chart a lot.
Love it
I
so
love
much.
digging into the numbers. One of the things you see, everyone did their last pit stop between lap 61 and lap 65.
Okay.
The 14 car had to come back in on 71. I think that might have been a fuel. I'm not exactly sure why, but he'd also come in on lap 62, so there was a problem there.
Yeah.
Everyone comes in between 61 and 65, a 25 to 28 lap sprint to the checkered. We have the yellow lap 70, 71, so anyone who was a little tighter on fuel, not worried about it, goes hard. Every single car in the top 5 did their fastest lap after their last pit stop. Palou was lap 74. Pato was lap 85. Also, big shout out to Fitness doing your fastest lap at the end of an 85 lap race. Will Power lap 74 as well. Scott McLaughlin lap 82. Scott Dixon lap 85. Graham Rahal lap 44.
When he was on the red.
When he was on the reds, it had just come out of pit lane. It was his second or third lap out of pit lane on a set of reds.
Yeah.
So I think it shows that at the end, especially with a restart. So we've often talked about, or it's talked on the broadcast a lot about doing your last pit stop as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Because what's Townsend Bell's favorite saying regarding that? It puts you in the danger zone.
He
loves it. Because it's true.
Yeah.
If you are running long and you don't come in at the beginning of the window at the end of the race for your last stop and it goes yellow, it puts you at the back.
Yeah. Because everyone else would have already done their stop. And just with track position, right? It goes yellow. You come in during the yellow. Everyone passes you and you're behind everybody.
Correct. Similar mentality as far as not having the best. Look, a yellow could happen at any time, or this year not happen at any time. But in that last stop, everyone tends to be the most spread out. So strategically, if it doesn't go yellow and your Ouija board and your 8-ball says it's not going to go yellow, you put the least competitive tires. If there is a balance between more competitive, less competitive, you run the less competitive tires when the field is the most spread out.
Okay.
Because you are less under attack.
Okay.
Yes, you're still talking about total time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you're talking about racing for position, you can be more at risk because as you get past, you lose momentum. You get past, you lose momentum, and it cascades downwards. When you're more spread out, you may give up more time, but lose less positions because the field is spread out. However, goes yellow, you have brought a knife to a gunfight, and you are at risk, highly at risk, from the other cars that are around you on the
this is having the less competitive tire, right?
Correct.
Because the ones with the soft tire, the more competitive tire, have more grip. they're going to be able to get more grip. They're going to be able to brake later. They're going to be able to pass you.
Yes.
And that's exactly what happened to Graham.
And that's exactly what happened to Graham. And they strategically made that choice. And also, Alexander...
I don't think that was the plan originally, judging by like in-car radio, right? They were going to go...
Red.
I don't remember what their first situation was.
It was red, black, red. Which is consistent with what Palou did.
Yeah.
I believe Graham had used reds for the end, and Palou would have had new reds for the end.
Okay.
Which is closer.
Closer. But in-car radio, Graham asked what Palou was doing and wanted to do the opposite. So he went off strategy, off plan to try and have an advantage over Palou because he really wanted that win, which I get. But that in-car call is ultimately what hurt him and got him and lost him that win, because all other things being equal, right? We don't know what would have happened. He didn't have that more competitive tire for a restart and ended up going backwards.
And it's interesting, in the 14 laps, because let's say on the restart of lap 71 going green again, let's say he's within 5 seconds of the leader. I think that's probably a fair number. So in those 14 laps, he lost an additional 14 seconds. He finished 19 seconds behind Palou and had led for a total of 49 of the 85 laps. So he led the most laps, led a majority of the laps, and still finished 19 seconds behind the leader, which I think is an indication of the fact that Alex Palou started on pole. Hold on. Started on pole. Didn't lead the most laps, but had the fastest lap and the fastest leader lap.
Yeah.
You have to be perfect to beat the 10 car at the moment.
Yes. Yeah.
And when you change the strategy, and I think I haven't heard all of the conversations between the timing stand and the car, but there are times where the timing stand has more information.
Yeah.
And their time, and it may have not mattered, right? They may have said, look, and that stint when Alex Palou actually passes Graham for the lead on track, it was, I've got it right here, lap 58. I believe Graham may be on used reds at that point.
I think he was, and his tires went off.
And his tires were starting to go off.
Well, and he spent all that time trying to get around Abel.
I think it was Jacob Abel was the lap car.
So he used up a lot of his tire life trying to get around him.
Yeah.
But then we saw Alex just kind of take off. Like after Alex got around Graham, I mean, it was seconds a lap in hand really quickly.
And I think that's it proves the point that it's one thing to catch someone, it's a whole other thing to pass them.
Yeah.
So I think Alex probably had pace all day long.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And even at the end of the race, I heard a radio call, and it might have been right after Alex Palou did his fastest lap of the race. So right after lap 74, 75, Barry Wanzer comes on the radio and says to Alex, hey, take care of these tires in case there's another late race restart. Right? They're not just worried about going flat out to just win the race. They're managing and protecting against other eventualities.
But isn't that, like you and I always say, plan for the worst, hope for the best, right? But isn't that what every good race car team should be doing? Plan for the worst and hope for the best?
Yes. But if you don't have the pace in hand, if you don't have additional pace, and I think that's a little like Graham, their one lap pace, unbelievable this weekend as a team.
Yeah.
From where they have been in races previous. Is that effect of Jay Fry coming on board as team president? Maybe.
Well, they've always been fast there, so maybe
they've always been fast there. But
they were able to even it out between the three cars. Who knows?
Find a little more consistency, and so I think what you see is that the overall race pace of the 10 car was continues to be stronger even than the 9 car, even than Scott Dixon, who we both believe is a 6-time champion and one of the greatest of all time. So to me, it is so interesting how the season develops. And I think it'll be most interesting how the Indy 500 disrupts this momentum.
Yeah, I just had a thought. So Brad Goldberg came on as Scott Dixon's engineer.
Yes.
Well, okay. Any last thoughts on the Grand Prix?
The amount of people that didn't have good days for mechanical issues.
Yeah.
Right? Kiffin Simpson. I think actually, no, I do want to shout out the job that Kiffin Simpson did
in qualifying,
in practice and qualifying all weekend, and never got to show it. The car never turned a lap. That's like, didn't get off the grid.
That's like when you were, I think it was, you were on pole at Texas, and then your engine blew up during the race. When
oil line came loose. But yeah, on pole, lead, and it's like you never get to show it. It was worse for Kiffin. He never got off the grid. Like, you go through all that hype, like all the pageantry, all the work, and for me as a racing driver, the payoff was always the race.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm not just a driver who likes to go fast. I'm a racing driver. The race is what really matters. And he never got to show it. He never got to get off the grid. But Marcus Ericsson, mechanical issues. Colton Herta, mechanical issues. 2 Andretti cars. Jacob Abel with a mechanical issue. David Malukas, an electronics issue. The fact that
this was like the first race we had any attrition.
There was decent amount of attrition. Yep.
That's what I said.
Different. Yeah, I know. I was.
Yep. Oh, okay.
And the amount of quotes after the race, guys from Santino and others. Oh, another shout out, actually. Rinus VeeKay, another top 10. He is top 10 in points. A Dale Coyne racing car, top 10 in points. Rinus is doing a great job.
Great.
But the amount of quotes that were like, yeah, okay, we didn't have a great day, but Indy's next.
I know.
Right? Yeah. It's like so fast. Like, most drivers like dwell on it.
No.
An hour, 6 hours, 1 day, 3 days, 6 months, 20 years. That you dwell on a bad result. Here, when you're facing down the month of May, the greatest spectacle in racing, the Indianapolis 500, it's so easy to be like, yeah, okay, that was that. But now.
Yeah. So, can we talk about the 500 now?
Yeah.
Okay.
We talked a lot about the 500 last time.
Well, it was more about like the spectacle of the weekend and all of that and what we were looking forward to. I really want to drill into, you said something while we were watching the race in my office about Brad Goldberg.
Oh, yeah.
Brad Goldberg was your engineer at Ganassi for almost your entire time there.
Yeah, for a good chunk, 3-4 years of it.
And he's really great at tire management.
Great on race strategy.
Won
championships and races.
Yeah.
The Ford GT sports car program.
Yep. And he won the 500 with Marcus Ericsson.
Yep.
And this is no shade to Marcus.
Nope.
But now he's engineering Scott Dixon. Scott Dixon is such a good racing driver. And the combination of Brad Goldberg and Scott Dixon at the 500, I think, is going to be something to watch.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Because the way Brad manages the week, he is so intentional.
Yep, you can tell.
With every set of tires, with every lap on track, with every day plan.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't think the man sleeps during the month because he looks at the weather. He looks at, like, all the engineers do this, right? I think the stress balance, stress level between driver and engineer and team flips from a road and street circuit to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Because as a driver, yes, you're stressed. Yes, it's like you want it, right? But I think the engineers, the teams, the mechanics, aerodynamicists, everybody involved with the program, crew chiefs, pit stop guys, all feel the load of not making a mistake at Indy more than anywhere else.
Yeah.
They all feel it, right?
Well, because it means more, right? Indy means more. You win that race, your life is changed. You will always be an Indy 500 winner.
But why is it different? Like, as a driver there, though, I don't know. I always felt like that's the one that there are certain races that take years off drivers' lives. And then there are certain races that take years off crew members' lives. And the Indy 500 is harder on the teams. Maybe it's the amount of track time, maybe it's the long hours, maybe it's the speed and the margin of error is so small. Maybe it's getting up at 3 a.m. to, be at the track by 4 to avoid any of the inbound traffic on race day. I don't know, but I've always felt like Brad was so intentional with the month as a management. It's a little like managing a race strategy. He zooms out, but also can zoom really far in, and he pushes everyone else on the team.
I think one of my favorite things about Brad was you could tell how stressed he was by how high his hair was, because he would always like pull his. He does run his fingers through his hair.
Does one of these, and he leans on his hand, and then when during a qualifying run, he have like 2 hands on his forehead, but his eyes are still opening, scanning everything, making sure there's nothing going wrong or anything like that. You can tell. You can definitely tell the stress.
All of that to say, I think Scott's dedication and intentionality and Brad's ability to manage the month and Scott's ability to manage the month, right, is going to be something to look out for, I think.
Do we think that engine manufacturer wise, are you seeing, based on your feel so far this year, are you seeing any advantage one way or another? And Honda,
that's a you question. That is not a me question.
I'm asking you. Is there anything you think? Because you say Alex Palou is an outlier. Is that a Honda assisted outlier, or is that because every single race has been won by a Honda this year?
There's usually an engine that is better straight line speed, right? I don't know which one that is. Whichever one has the better straight line speed is the one that's going to do better at the speedway. And I don't remember from the test which one that was. I don't know.
I think the 10 car, the 9 car, so the 2 Hondas looked really good. I think the McLaren cars looked really good. The Penske cars looked great.
Well, I would imagine Honda's chomping at the bit to get their chance at the 500 because Joseph's won the last 2 years. So it's a Chevy that won the last 2 years. So I wouldn't be surprised if they put a lot of R&D dollars into being really good at the speedway. We see this flip-flop, right? Where Honda's better there, Chevy's better there because they're putting more resources one way or another. So,
and yet I heard on the Off Track with Engine Rossi, Alex Rossi talked about the existing architecture of the engines. The homologation of these engines has been around for quite a few years, and so there are some internal parts that don't change, that don't get R&D dollars, that don't get better.
Yeah.
And Chevy has always, or typically, traditionally, had stronger straight line speed. When you get up into those high revs and you're dealing more with an aerodynamic limitation than you are horsepower or acceleration. And so typically Chevy has been better at the speedway. We saw that with Joseph passing Pato, another Chevy, for the win last year.
That was not an engine thing. That was
I was saying that there were 2 Chevys there.
Yes.
Joseph doesn't make that pass. It's another Chevy that wins.
Yeah.
This is an engine conversation, not
I was
about that pass. The conversation was that there were Chevys that were up front consistently for that. I don't know that we will know. I think there were telltale marks of sand coming out of certain cars at the open test.
Sand?
So back in the day, there's a term called sandbagging. So
it's like, what?
So there's a term called sandbagging in racing where you...
In tennis, too.
Apparently in tennis as well.
Apparently I'm a sandbagger.
So when you don't show your ultimate pace, and it's so much about weight driven and all of these different things. Back in the day, people used to put actual sandbags in their car. So that was the vernacular was, he's sandbagging because he has sandbags in their car. So this
colloquial term that is used across the board.
I believe It's about adding sand to be heavier during practice.
Oh, we're looking this up.
Oh, I think we'll have to look it up, and maybe I'll put it in the show notes if I find anything. It's probably from horse racing or like, I don't know.
Our kids were floored when I told them the rear view mirror came from the Indy 500.
Really?
Yeah. They were like, and I told them, they were just like, what, Mom? What? Because they were asking me what the rear view mirror was, like why we have it. And I told them why we have it. And I was like, oh, it came from the Indy 500. And they were like, what? Like,
that's right. Ray Haroon and the Marmon Wasp.
Yeah. Oh, and another family tie. I forgot it was the Marmon Wasp.
Yeah.
Okay, so to be seen who was sandbagging and who wasn't.
Yep.
I do think that Penske is ultimately very famous for sandbagging.
I don't know about that. I think so I don't know if it's sandbagging as such or if it's just being intentional about when they roll out their best and their brightest.
Yeah.
But if you know something is worth 3 to 5 pounds of drag, that's a huge number, but 1 to 2 pounds of drag with no downforce, and you run it maybe on a day when you're not running new tires.
Or you're running on a day where the weather's not ideal or something like that.
Right. And you go, okay, we know that's better. Take it off, put it in your back pocket.
Yeah.
Is that sandbagging, or is that just not showing all your cards until it's time to put up?
Potato, potato.
Okay. Okay. Tomato, tomato, same then. I disagree. I think that's just, well, and okay, so then the question for you is sandbagging a pejorative term? Is it negative to be sandbagging? Is it a bad thing if you don't show all of your cards until it's time for when it counts?
I don't think it's a bad thing. I think that I think you have to be very confident to be able to do that. I think you have to know what your car can do to do that. I think you have to be very confident in your driver, because
like having won the last 2 Indy 500s.
Yes. But you also have to be confident in your driver, right? Because like you said, at those 225, 230 speeds, the car is on razor's edge, right? You have to know your driver is going to be able to handle that 1 to 2 average mile an hour speed over the lifetime, over the qualifying or whatever you're doing. So I think there has to be confidence in the driver. There has to be confidence in the car. There has to be confidence in the driver that the driver is going to get it done when they have the opportunity to get it done. And I think to the other teams, it can be very frustrating when you're seeing yourself in the top 10 consistently all week, and then you go out and you qualify 24th because all these other teams was sandbagging.
The other thing it does is, so there's a line from, and I believe the movie is Days of Thunder, when he says, you can go high, it's a specially measured, staggered set of tires, right? And then after the race, he goes, there was no difference in the tires, but you believe there was, right? That's the paraphrasing, right?
I see where you're getting there.
So my thought is then, is it better to, when you put the go fast parts on, you say, oh yeah, it's worth this, and this. And so your driver goes, oh, I got all the stuff. And it gives them that confidence. It's kind of the inner game of speed.
That's
the speedway.
That's a chicken egg situation, not potato.
Oh man, we're just like, I don't know, maybe we're hungry this morning or something, but a whole lot of food references.
Yeah, I think that's why everyone watches. I think that's why the Indianapolis 500 is the greatest spectacle in racing, and why it gets 5 to 6 times the amount of viewers that everyone, because all of this matters. All of this happens. And that's why for the entire next week, I will be watching practice at the office,
and let's not forget, Speedway Indiana on Memorial Day Sunday hosts the largest non-religious collection of human beings on planet Earth each and every year to watch 33 drivers travel no distance, go nowhere, go nowhere and travel 500 miles faster than each other.
Yeah.
For 3+ hours in the sun with 5 to 8 pit stops.
I cannot wait.
It's going to be, and practice starts noon to 6, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Turn the boost up for Fast Friday.
Yeah.
Qualifying Saturday will set the top 30 cars.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, it sets 13 through 30.
Yep.
Locks in the top 12. Last row shootout happens on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Top 12, last row shootout, and then top 6 for pole. So a lot of hours on Fox Sports 2, Fox Sports 1, and on Fox.
Yep. James, Will, and Townsend are going to get their money's worth.
They are going to be out of voices and words, I am sure.
Yep. Weather's
maybe a little unsettled. I've been watching all of the weather apps, as I'm prone to do this time of year.
Yep.
All of the weather apps, little unsettled early. But there's a great social media handle on Twitter called IndyCar WXman, I think, or IndyCar Weatherman. Does great outlooks, great projections, shockingly accurate, like unbelievably accurate. If I could get him to project my aviation weather,
yeah,
I would.
I'm sure he would do.
No, he probably doesn't have anything else going on.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll be in California watching it again. There's a hole in our heart that we're not there. I think Charlie more than me, but we're gonna distract ourselves with the tennis tournament this weekend.
Yep, tennis, and then we head to the Midwest for race weekend. We'll be there all through race weekend and can't wait. So I think we're gonna do a recap show of practice and qualifying week.
Yeah.
So we'll do that next. We'll probably record on Tuesday after final race practice in case anything pops.
Yeah. Well, let us know. Let us know if you'd rather a practice week recap before we go into qualifying. Because we can do that. So let us know. Let us know what you think.
We'll try and do some quick recaps and insights. Any questions, let us know on social media, on Instagram and on Twitter at Charlie Kimball. YouTube channel where you can watch us argue about potatoes, and chickens and eggs is youtube.com/Charlie Kimball. And a final shout out and thanks to all of the mothers. Yesterday was Mother's Day.
Yeah.
So happy Mother's Day to the mothers, to the grandmothers, to the dog moms, to everybody that keeps everyone's lives in order. And a big shout out to all the moms at George Thompson Diamond Company. Yeah. George Thompson Diamond Company bringing you this episode. You can shop online at, most all of the episodes you can shop online at georgethompson.com.
We forgot. Did we mention my award?
I do not. I was going to.
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry to steal your turn. We can wait and do it later.
Well, you've opened Pandora's box, so we're not going to put that genie back in the bottle. Man, mixing metaphors. But very exciting. After the Indy 500, we will be heading to the largest jewelry trade show in Vegas for a few days and getting to celebrate Kathleen Kimball as a top 20 retail jeweler under the age of 40, as voted on by Jewelers of America, as nominated and awarded. I could not be more proud of my wife, could not be more proud of the store, and everybody in the industry has been so excited and so supportive to honor Kathleen for the work she does within jewelry. She had an incredible launch of a new line of tennis jewelry recently. Those gifts you can order and purchase online at georgethompson.com as well. But stay tuned for the greatest spectacle in racing, the Indianapolis 500.
Way under an hour.
I love it.